Okay, so definitely the first place to start is to get clear on who you're inspired by. So personally, I was really inspired by an artist whose work I see a lot on Instagram. She's called Kawaii, and her studio is fantastic. She's got all these amazing collections of toys, and she's a Blythe doll artist. And she really does the most creative and amazing work. And sometimes she puts up a video of her studio and everything's organised by colour and all her creative materials are organised, and really I was very inspired by that. And I was also inspired by some of the YouTubers that I watch. For example, Dobun. She has a super tidy space and it serves her very well, and her office space is kawaii, it's really cute. Also inspired by Katie Steckley, who has a really clean and clear space, and I thought, wow, if I could make my space more like that, it would be much easier to work in the space creatively and also much easier to film in the space. Also, if we're thinking about kawaii spaces, you've probably got things that you want to display. For example, I would love to display things like this Tokidoki, really cute, and my lovely plushie from Cardcaptor Sakura, and this cool Kuromi. So yes, that is a part of it, isn't it? It's thinking, which items do I want on display in my space? So the next step is to get clear on your room space and what your room's function is. So you might have a room that is completely for relaxation. Ah, how lovely. Or you might have a room where you do your schoolwork or your college work, so you need a space where you can focus on that. Or you might have a room where you want to do your creative activities. So personally, I want an area where I can work on my songwriting and also practice my singing. You might have an area where you want to do crafts and have a focused space and a table where you can easily get straight to it. You might want a space where you can film because you make YouTube videos. So really think clearly, what is my space supposed to be for? And at this point, you might find it helpful to draw a diagram. So I did a rough diagram. It's super messy, but it helped me to visualize just a little bit about which item was going to go where in the room. Step number 3 is to be able to clearly state your room quest. So you got to imagine you're telling somebody else all about it, about who your inspirations are and what exactly your room is going to be for. So here's the challenge. See if you can describe it to your friend in one sentence. Wow, that's very focused, isn't it? Here we go. I'm going to have a go. So my quest is to have a kawaii room that is relaxing, lovely to look at, great to film in, and a great workspace that supports my creativity, makes it easier to be creative, and makes it easier to complete my Cherry Scream album. So if you want to share with us what your room quest is, feel free to write it in the comments below, because I really think it helps to state it in a sentence, and then you've got a clear vision for where you're going. And now it's time to congratulate yourself, because you have reached the first stage. You have a beautiful vision for what you're doing with your kawaii room. Okay, so now our journey begins, and your options split into 2. The road splits into 2 at this point, and you have 2 choices. So the first choice, and this all depends on what kind of person you are. The first choice is to do a lot more planning, more detailed planning, and to work out a strategy for how you're going to approach this. And the second choice, option B, is to just launch straight into it all, riding the enthusiasm and to learn as you go. I chose B. Was this a good thing? I really don't know. But I was riding this massive wave of enthusiasm. I was like, yeah, I can have this amazingly beautiful room and all my creative stuff will be laid out. Everything will be connected up. I'll just be able to press the button to record. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. I'll have a desk ready, not covered in stuff. So yeah, off I went with this massive wave of enthusiasm. And of course, this approach has some advantages and some distinct disadvantages too, which we will get onto. But first of all, let's talk about the advantages, because it's important to be positive, right? So, the advantages of launching straight into it are that you break through, especially if you've maybe not tidied your room for a while. Some of us may well be guilty of that. Not going to say who. But yes, if you haven't been tidying your room, then it's a great way to just break that inertia and get stuck in with it. The next way that was really helpful for me actually was that it totally shook up my space, and it threw up lots of new opportunities and lots of new possibilities that I definitely would not have even thought of had I not started moving things around and disturbing piles and moving furniture into new places. So I definitely think that's an advantage of working on it all straight away. Of course, working on it straight away led to a lot of challenges as well, but ultimately I would say that it was truly helpful because it led to me developing a strategy, and because I learn by doing things, I really don't think that I would have got to that strategy without having this massive experiment and this great big like, let's go for it. So what actually happened was I launched into this big tidying of my room, organising, moved tons of things around, started moving furniture around, and of course it took much longer than I expected, and I ended up with an extremely messy room, probably even messier than when I had started. Absolute chaos. Absolute chaos. All I managed to do really was move some furniture around, so now I basically had a sea of stuff around me and my bed was adrift in the middle of it all. So it was good because it was like being on a new adventure, and a bit like that bit in Bedknobs and Broomsticks where the bed is flying through the sea. That's the way I imagined it anyway, so that I didn't lose my mind. But lots of people would definitely find that stressful, and I found it a bit stressful too, I'll be honest, because it was very, very overwhelming. Now I'm going to talk about the challenges that come up if you launch straight into it. And you hopefully can learn from these challenges and make your own decisions about whether you're going to have some strategy or whether you're just going to go for it. So the first thing that I came up against was the fact that I have too much stuff. Yes, I like to collect things, I have lots of interests and lots of hobbies, so I have stuff absolutely everywhere. Oops. And so that means that you can't tidy your room quickly. There's just no way, because you've got lots of things you have to organise as well. So I would say be honest with yourself about how much stuff you actually have. If you're somebody that doesn't have much stuff, well, congratulations, because you really are already nearly there with your life, aren't you? Amazing if you're that organised. But if you're a creative person and you've got lots of different interests and lots of stuff all over the place, then be honest with yourself and think, okay, maybe I cannot do all of this in a day or in a weekend. So you want to think, how many items can I actually face dealing with each day, right? So the way that I'm dealing with it all now is that I have cleared most of the space, so it still feels very different. But I am afraid, yes, I have put some of it into boxes and some of it into bags, and some of it's sorted and some of it's not very sorted, okay? And then once you've got the space a bit clearer, you can sort things into types, okay, which is really, really helpful. And then decide on your number of items and then just sort through that many items a day. So go to your box or your bag or whatever, take out, say, I'm going with 5 to 25 items, but you can pick whatever suits you. And just take out that many and sort through those. And don't worry about the masses of other stuff, because honestly, it's just going to be too much to do in one day. And of course, this leads us on to another challenge that I was facing, which is that I had vastly underestimated the amount of time that I needed to do this kawaii room makeover. Oh yes. So be realistic about the amount of time that you have available to work on this project. Also, if you're going to work on it over a number of days, then think to yourself, what is the best time slot in the day where I could work on this? So for me, I've chosen to have a daily time slot so that I can keep the momentum going, because I think if I only work on it at the weekends, then it'll be kind of easy for me to, you know, drop it when I'm busy and then we'll be back to square one again. So yeah, pick your time slot. And maybe put a time limit on it as well so that you don't get overwhelmed. So I've decided to do mine in the morning before work, because if I left it until after work, there's just no way that it's going to happen. I'm going to be honest, I'm tired after work. So I'm definitely not going to feel like sorting through things and making decisions. So yes, pick a time in the day where you're fresh and you've actually got some time to focus on it. Personally, I'm way more likely to be motivated in the morning, and also it actually feels like a great way to start the day. When you do it, then you think, oh, I've done 25 items towards my room or whatever. Even if you only did 10 items, it still feels good. And then you can leave it and get on with the rest of your day. And this brings me on to number 7, which is that personally, of course, we need to maintain all our other responsibilities. So sometimes I feel like when we watch a YouTuber do their video of their room makeover, they literally had a week or 2 weeks when they could just work on that because YouTube is already their job. But for most of us, that is totally unrealistic. You know, we have work we have to do. We have family that we want to see and care for. We have other responsibilities, like we have to exercise, we have to eat properly, we have to do the shopping. You know, there's tons and tons of things that we have to do. So it's just not realistic to think, oh, I can spend the entire weekend on this or an entire week on this. It's not going to happen, is it? So you want to be realistic about how this process is going to fit in with the rest of your life so that you don't give up, basically. So you want to make it manageable and you want to balance it with all of your other activities. So that's why having a time slot is such a good idea, because it really helps you to fit it into the schedule of your day. So the next challenge for me was the fact that there was a lack of space. Some of this is to do with having too many things, too many interests, so too many things that I'm trying to fit into one space. And then another part of it is obviously I don't live in an enormous house, so I've got limited space, and everyone else has probably got this problem too. And the solution that's worked so far for me is just to really focus down onto one small area at a time. So instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to do a kawaii whole room makeover, just think of a little area, a small part of your room, and just focus in on that. So now I have designated areas that, yes, are messy spaces. So if you've ever watched Friends, you know what I mean when I talk about Monica's cupboard. I have some spaces that are definitely like that. Okay. But it's okay, isn't it? Because I now have some other spaces that are starting to function. So that's exactly why you have those messy spaces. Those spaces are full of stuff ready to sort. So I think a good way to do it is to ask yourself, which space in my room is going to have the biggest impact? And for me, because I'm a very visual kind of person, I have to think which space is going to have the biggest visual impact for me. But you might be more practical, so you might think of it like which space is going to have the biggest functional impact for me. And of course, I think this is probably obvious, but choose a space that is accessible. Because if you've got a big mess zone and you choose a space right in the corner at the back of the mess zone, it's not really going to happen, is it? So work your way into the mess zone. Start with the bits that are tidier and work your way around the room. And something that's helping me a lot while I'm working on all of this is to have what is called drop zones. So that means that, for example, you have a drop zone for your dirty clothes, you have a drop zone for your clean clothes, you have a drop zone for your jewellery when you take it off, especially if you take it off after a night out and you're not very disciplined and you don't put it away. You have a drop zone maybe for pens and pencils, if maybe sometimes you get interrupted when you're doing arts and crafts. You could have a drop zone for tech items as well. And then it just means that you've got a place where you're going to stick those items quickly if you have to move on and do another task, and at least everything doesn't get all messed up. And I'm actually finding this really, really helpful. So I hope that it helps you too. And of course, the last challenge that I faced really was that I was expecting way too much of myself. It was a completely unrealistic goal, which I discovered as I started to do it. So I would say be realistic about where you are in the process. If you already have lots of items laid out beautifully, lots of collections laid out, wow, I mean, you're already well on the way to your beautiful kawaii room. Maybe you have all your outfits beautifully organised. Honestly, I'm quite jealous. You may well be like me and have a bit more of a mess, or have a mixture of the two. And that's okay. You know, we've all got to start somewhere with it, haven't we? So yeah, be realistic about where you are and be kind to yourself. Accept that those amazing rooms that we see when people post them on social media took ages. Ages and ages and ages and ages. And they probably tidied the space a number of times before they came up with the arrangement that you see in the photograph or the video. So personally, I've had to accept that the chaos of my life is not going to become order in just one weekend. But that's okay, right? I'm going to focus on the positive, and I'm going to focus on the little bits that I have done, and try not to focus too much on the messy zones, because of course then they're stressful and it's discouraging and it just means you don't want to do it. So yes, be positive, focus on the tiny bits that you've already done, and congratulate yourself. So of course somebody way more practical than me would be saying, well, you had a distinct lack of planning and strategy, and that's exactly what happened. You had a completely chaotic result. Yes, never mind, because I learned a lot. And for me, I had a bonus win as well, because it really helped me to refocus in on my goals and really think about what did I want this room for. And obviously one of my major goals at the moment is to complete my album for my band Cherry Scream. So part of my room makeover is to make sure that I have more functional space for creating songs. And the other major goal I have at the moment is to really push forwards with my YouTube and to help lots more people. So I hope that this video was helpful to you, and so it helped me to focus on that. And I think this is the first time that I've filmed in the room instead of just in front of a backdrop, so that's definitely progress. So if you're into visualization and you would like to hear more about what I'm doing with my visualizations, then let me know in the comments, because I'm thinking of maybe doing the next video about visualizations. Part of this process, I created some new objects to help me with my visualization. So yes, let me know if you would like to see that video. I'm really looking forward to hearing all your ideas about your room quests, and also anything you've got to add about how we can tame our messy spaces and have our beautiful creative spaces, our beautiful kawaii rooms. And I want to give some shout outs to people who are always encouraging me. I appreciate it a lot. So thank you so much to Rosie, my lovely daughter. She is always very encouraging and supportive. Thank you, Rosie. And a big shout out to my sister Lucy, who's also watching my videos and super supportive. And Maria is too. Thank you, thank you. And I want to say thank you so much to my dad. He is so lovely, very supportive. And also a thank you to Jo, because she's always telling me that she's watched the video and given me some feedback, and that's super helpful as well. So if you watched the video, give us a comment, let me know what you thought. Have a beautiful week, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!